It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Fletcher Holman to the From the Club podcast. Fletch, tell us everything we need to know about you in 60 seconds.
So my name is Fletcher Holman. I'm a striker who was at Eastbourne Borough and then signed for Wolves. I'm a striker that likes to run in behind and just score hatfuls of goals, really.
Yeah, and to be fair, mate, you're very, very good at that. Fletcher Holman, Premier League striker. I mean, what a 12 months it's been. As you sit here now, Fletch, do you have to pinch yourself sometimes?
Um, Not really. Like sometimes I sit there and I think like what I've done in the last year is crazy. Like this time last year I was this year just finishing college and all that sort of stuff. So sometimes you do think about like how it can all change in such a short period of time. But no, I don't really think I have to pinch myself at all, to be honest. Like I know where I stand. I know what I want to get out of my football career, and I'll do anything to get it. So yeah, no, I just enjoy the moments that I've had, and hopefully I can get many more of them sick moments that I've had.
Oh, mate, 100%. Well, before we talk about the move and what life is like up at Wolves, let's talk about how you got there. What age did you start kicking a ball and when did you realise that you were really good at it?
I started kicking a ball pretty much ever since I could walk. To be honest, like there's always like I've got photos of me with a football in my hand everywhere I go, that sort of stuff. But no, I started like seriously playing football at the age of 4. Um, and I was playing at a team called Old Town Boys, literally like my local team. My dad used to play for them when he was younger, so that's where I started. And then I joined this like little like academy thing called All Stars, where that was more like technically driven. Like they'd sort out your passing, your first touch, your little like technical stuff really. And then at the age of like 7, I got signed by Brighton Academy, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
obviously as a 7 year old, you're gassed with that. Like it's unbelievable. And was there for 6 or 7 years. I was about 13, 14. Got released. Got told I wasn't good enough. Wasn't ever going to make it. And since that day, really, like something just changed in my head, and I was like, I can't have someone tell me I'm not good enough.
Yeah, mate,
Just,
100%. Yeah,
and
100%. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Um, how did the move to Brighton come about? Was there scouts coming to watch you, Fletch? And like you mentioned, you were there up until the age of 14. And how do you look back at that time as a whole?
um, I don't. I I think that the what's happened to me has happened to me for a reason. I think if I had stayed in Brighton Academy until the age of 19, 18, till up to scholar, I don't think that I would have enjoyed my football as much as I have enjoyed it. Like my journey is special to me, and um, I think it's happened for a reason. But I don't really understand. I don't know how it all came about. To be honest, I just remember going to a session one time and then coming home. It's like just being a normal kid for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then my dad came into the living room one day and was like, "How do you fancy going for a tour around the Amex?" And this was at like 6:30 at night, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what do you mean a tour? This is 6:30. I've had my dinner. I'm just chilling on the sofa. Um, and I remember him coming in saying, "Yeah, let's go for a tour around the Amex." And then by the next morning, I was signed as a Brighton Academy player.
Hey, do you still remember what that was like going into school the next day?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. Because one of my mates was already there. He was already signed at Brighton, and then yeah, I just went to school the next day and was like, by the way, I've just signed with Brighton. Like it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Is it hard to keep your feet on the ground? I mean, anyone who knows you, Fletch, mate, I mean, you're not only an incredible player, you're the loveliest guy. You've always, got time for the fans, and that makes the fans, love you back in a big, big way. So I think I know the answer to this question already because you come across extremely grounded. But as such a young kid being brought into such a high profile club, was there any challenges around you keeping your feet on the floor?
No, honestly, I think what I always think about is if I was it, I remember how much it would have meant to me as a little kid growing up to see like my idols playing. And like I used to go down to Eastbourne Borough and watch the first team, and I remember how gassed I used to get when they were coming at half time and you shake their hands or whatever. So
Yeah,
when you're now in that position, you're literally like you're like a giant in their world. So you've got to make it special for them as well. So I just always like reverse the role sort of thing, and I know how
yeah.
I would have felt. So you've got to just get it back. and they're there
Yeah,
every week supporting you. So the least you
yeah.
can do is chat with them. And
No, it's incredible. I think everybody who I've met who lives in Eastbourne has got a Fletcher Holman story. I remember when you first signed for Wolves, everyone was obviously talking about it, and I was meeting kids who play for the team that we play for, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Fletcher Holman's in the Premier League now. He was my ref once. He
yeah,
refed me." You've had this contact with so many people, which is
yeah,
just so great. But obviously, that you've gone from a massive high, being at a high profile club, and then you've mentioned already being released at 14 must have come as a huge blow. How did you deal with that mentally? Did it make you more determined, or did it make you start to doubt whether or not you'd be able to have a career as a footballer?
obviously, obviously, I remember. Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember sitting in that meeting. It was literally me and my dad, and they said we're not going to give you another contract, so like they're going to release me. We had the meeting was about 45 minutes, and afterwards I just remember crying into my dad's arms. Like, obviously, it's not the best news you want to hear, especially at 14. It's tough to take. And when I started to mature and realize that I knew what I wanted to do, I knew that moment happened for a reason, and it got it brought the best out of me. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was tough to take, but I'm glad it happened. I don't think
yeah,
what's happened now would have happened if I would still be there.
yeah. So when did you first hear that Eastbourne Borough was interested in you, and how did that move come about, Fletch?
So I was playing for Borough's 18s. So I went to Eastbourne Town as a 16-year-old, and this was like first year 18s, and I went purely to Eastbourne Town just to enjoy my football again. So I wasn't really enjoying it. I needed to just enjoy my football. All my mates were there. We had a sick season. I was in and out of the first team at Eastbourne Town, and I played like 10, 15 minutes here and there. I was traveling all around Sussex with them. Um, and then I stayed at Eastbourne Town's first team as a second year 18, but went to Eastbourne Borough's under 18s and played in the Isthmian League there. And I started for Town. Pre-season was good. Had a good pre-season. Had a good start of the season. Was starting every game, and was bagging goals for Borough's 18s as well, and for college because college are linked into Borough as well. And Danny Bloor was the manager at the time, who brought me in. He brought me in on a 3 month period where he sold it to me really, and then I was traveling around the whole of like the south of the UK, going to like Bath away, and was just sitting in the stands, sitting on the bench, wasn't getting a single minute. And I had to turn around to Danny and I was like, I can't, I'm 18 years old, I can't keep going around the whole country and not playing my football. I need to go back and enjoy my football, stop like play games because the worst thing to do is for an 18-year-old to just rot on the bench. So I went back to Eastbourne Town, ended up winning young player of the season, got the most goal, was like top goal scorer by like 11 or 12. Um, and then start of pre-season, I was meant to go to pre-season of the season just gone. I finished college. I was like meant to go to uni, and I sort of said to my dad, like, I've never had a year of my life where I've properly like just dropped everything, dropped academic, like my academic side of things, just dropped it all for football. So I thought, this is what I'm going to do for a year. I'm going to do what I can, see where I can get. And then I signed for Borough. Mark Beard rang me up. And then me and my dad went and had a meeting. And then I signed for Borough. Not on a good, not, it wasn't a good deal, but I knew that I had to take something to potentially get what I want.
Yeah,
And then by January, I signed for Wolves.
yeah. There's going to be a lot of Premier League fans listening to this who know you from Wolves, and they might not have a lot of experience in watching non-league football, and so for them they might sort of picture non-league as quite an aggressive league, and because obviously you're a really fast player, you can beat a man, and they're probably picturing you getting bashed about on a weekly basis. Was that typical of your experience when you played non-league? I mean, that Town, and obviously when you broke into Borough, did you kind of feel a little bit? Certainly, start when you started scoring goals. Did you feel that people was beginning to get your card marked early in the game, and there was a little bit more physicality towards you at all?
Um, I think that's just what happens with forward players, to be honest. Like forward players they're always the first to get a tackle laid on them. That, you know what I mean? Especially with a player who can score goals and is a threat. But I knew that there'd be times in a game where centre halves would be out to like get me, sort of thing. But it didn't ever like play in my mind or anything like that. I sort of got a buzz off it.
Yeah,
If you want to smash me, try and smash me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. I can't stop you from doing that. So, but
yeah,
what I can do is I can put a ball in the back of the net and
yeah,
we can beat you. So, do you know, it's not really something you think about as a striker, but you know that someone is going to smash you at some point.
yeah. Exactly. I want to just go back a bit. I mean, you've really touched on this already, but I remember when I interviewed Alan a couple of months ago, and he sort of told us a little bit about the story about how you signed, and he mentioned that it looked like you was going to go off to college or university and miss out, and which is incredible when you think about where you are now. So
Yeah.
let's just sort of fast forward back to this time last year, or rewind back to this time last year, where the takeover at Borough was happening. The manager Mark Beard at this time a year ago was just about to come in and start assembling a squad from scratch. What do you remember about that time, Fletch?
Um, I just remember knowing that obviously I was at Borough's 18s and there was talk, oh, you're going to do pre-season with the first team, you're going to do, but I knew in myself that I'd completed Eastbourne Towns League, I'd completed step 5 in my head anyway. Um, so I knew that I deserved to go up and see what I could do maybe in the league above or the league above that. Um, and obviously being at Borough's 18s, there was talk about, oh, you might do this, you might do that, but obviously it's all talk at the end of the actions speak louder than words. And when Mark rang me and was like, oh, we want you to come in, um, the idea of you is probably we'll sign you and then you'll go out on loan. Obviously, Jay Lovett was a part of the management team there, so and he was the manager of Haywards Heath at the time, who were in Eastbourne Towns League. Um, and he said to me, "Oh, we'll try and get you on loan to Haywards Heath with Jay." And I was like, "I've already played that league. Like, can we not try and if I'm gonna get loaned out, can we go like league below or league below that?" Um, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." And it got to a point where it was like midway through pre-season, and I said to Mark, I was like, I want to fight for my space. I believe I can play. And he was like, all right. And then yeah, I ended up fighting for a spot, and yeah, the rest is history, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, Fletch, one of the things, and he's so clear in talking to you. He's obviously, you've got this mentality of absolute belief, which is essential for elite players, and you've clearly got that. You back yourself and have that confidence. Is it true that you had your eyes on the number 9 shirt in the first season? I heard that you wanted that, and is that
Yeah,
true?
yeah, it is. Yeah, I went in. I was like, I'll just get the number 9 shirt because why not? And then I went in, and it was a piece of paper with every squad member going from 1 to like I don't know what it was. It was like maybe at 22, and I was 18, and I was a bit annoyed, but yeah, I got told that you earn a 9 sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So good. Fletch, so again, from his mindset, you're itching to be scoring goals. You've just done that whilst on loan at town. You then have the opportunity where you come in, you're training as a full-time footballer every single day, but you had to wait to get your first team opportunity to actually play and to show Mark Beard what you could do. How was that period of time for you, Fletch? How did you approach that?
I think patience is the big thing. I knew that it's not. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to be able to prove myself within 15 minutes of a game. But the thing that you can do is you can show bits of belief, sort of thing. So I remember it was Havant away, and I didn't play that long, but I scored a goal. And for a striker to come off the bench and score a goal, that's that's a lot. And it just shows how little it does take for you to change a game, which is the beauty of being a striker. You could score a goal and things can all change for you. But and then I started my first game away at Yeovil, which I didn't even know. Like my dad weren't meant to be there, and he was there, um, and then got dragged at half time, which is what wasn't nice. Like mentally, like half 45 minutes, it was tough. But no, I didn't. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. The Eastbourne Borough fans talk to you immediately. You know, you're one of our own. Electric pace, the ability to finish, elevated you to hero status very quickly. What you mentioned, obviously, your debut and your, you know, for last season, your debut and your first goal. What do you kind of remember about being told that you were going to play? You know, does that give you a sleepless night the night before? What's kind of like your pre-match, you know, routine? Have you got one, Fletch, sort of nailed down? How do you sort of approach that?
Um, I remember my starting debut at Yeovil. I didn't even know I was starting until about 2 hours before kickoff. I remember walking in. We stayed overnight in Yeovil. I remember walking into the room where there was like chairs, the screen. The gaffer was doing his talk, um, and he said, "This is the starting lineup for today," and my name was there. I didn't know I was going to start. I think other people did know I was starting. I think I started up front with Carry, and he was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, um, I think yeah, I knew you were starting. I got told you were starting." But for me, it was a bit of a tough moment because I told my dad I was starting, and it's 3 hours away, so I didn't know whether he was going to be there. My family wouldn't have been there, um, but it was a special moment for me, especially at Yeovil. Yeovil's a big game,
yeah.
um, but I thought I did really well in the 45 that I played, and yeah, what I'm trying to think of what my pre-match routine is. I don't really have a pre-match routine, to be honest. I know what I've got to do in the game to put my stamp on it, really, and
Yeah.
I just focus on that, but not anything else. But I can only control what I can, so
Yeah.
why let anything else try and disturb it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. When we watch, you know, you might be watching games on TV where you get to see the players down the tunnel. You then get to understand all sort of like pre-match superstitions. Are you one of those players? 'Cause I've noticed that you come out quite often with a bandage around your hand as well, Fletch. That's a
I wear,
FIFA. That's a around your finger. Yeah, yeah. That's a
yeah.
FIFA thing. That means that you're a really good player on FIFA, doesn't it? If you're all bandaged up, is that right? Is that what
No,
you're
no,
doing?
I only tape I tape this finger like this
Right.
one, and I don't know why. I just do it every game, and yeah, it's worked. So I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope you don't add to it every year and you end up with 10 of them around your fingers. It would slow you down, wouldn't it? So, going back to Mark Beard, who was your manager whilst at Borough, he's gone on record as saying that you're one of the greatest talents that he's ever coached. Which, when you think about it, Fletch, that's a huge compliment given his time spent at Brighton and the talent that he's coached. How did your game develop whilst you were at Borough with Mark Beard?
It was just a lot of consistencies. So every day I'd want to stay out. I'd ask, can I stay out? Can I do the little bits? Can I do movement? Can I do finishing? Can I do runs in behind? Can I work on anything I can that's going to get me into what I wanted into the starting team? And I'd do anything I could to get in there. So I'd stay out every day. But I don't think there was anything specifically that made me think, oh, if I change that, I'll get in. I just knew that if I could show to the gaffer that I'm willing to learn, willing to perfect things, then I'd have a chance. And he gave me the chance I deserved.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking of coaches. I know your dad, Wilf, has had a big impact on your career as well. I've had a pleasure having a couple of chats with him over time, and he clearly knows his football. As you grew up, what do you remember about watching him play as a player, and how's he helped you develop, Fletch?
Um, I remember one moment of one like key moment, and it was he played for Eastbourne Town under 23s against Borough's under 23s at Borough, and he was on the bench, and he was put. I think he was like 36, 37, and he's come off the bench. He's cut inside from the right wing and whacked one top in, and I'm standing there like, what have I just seen? But my dad was. I don't really remember like watching him play, like watching. You know how you watch a player now and you think, right, there's this, there's that. I'll just watch him
Yeah,
to watch him. I wouldn't watch him understanding the different bits and
yeah,
bobs of like techniques and that. But um, yeah, I don't really remember anything specific. Just that's that one moment that stands out in my head.
yeah, yeah. I remember. I mean, I've stood next to him watching you before, and I remember once, you know, you were running down the line down the left, beating your guy, and he was telling you to stick your arm out. I don't know if you remember that. He's always telling you, you know,
He always
to
tells
hold
me,
them back, and yeah,
yeah,
but you know. clearly a footballing family, and obviously talking about your dad, you've also got your younger brother Jimmy as well, who's also a good little player. Very different from you. He's a more of a defensive player, isn't he? But very
Yeah,
good, and with
it's
Borough
centre
under
half.
18s as
Yeah.
well. Centre half. Yeah, tell us about him, Fletch.
Um, yeah, I think he's got a lot to learn, but I think he's got the desire and the ability to do it. Um, I think I think he's going to be a really good player, and hopefully one day I'll I'll be in the same team as him or I'll play against him, and we'll see what happens. But no, he's definitely got the ability and the mindset to do it.
Yeah, and another lovely lad as well. And he's a great talker, isn't he? I've had a pleasure of talking to him a few times, and he conducts himself really, really well. So yeah, watch out for that name, Jimmy Holman, as well. So, Fletch, we've spoken about your debut, and I think the game that will live long in fans' minds is the cup game against Billingshurst. I don't know if you remember, I woke up that morning having a really good feeling for you and messaged you to say that I thought you were going to score a hat trick, and you actually had other ideas and scored 5 goals in that game, which is one of the best individual performances I've seen. And I remember listening to the defenders talk amongst themselves, going, "How are we going to handle this guy?" Like they just didn't have a clue how to play against you. What do you remember about that day, Fletch?
Um, I just remember I just treated it like any other game, like I would. Uh, and as soon as I scored the first, I was like, I'm scoring 4 or 5 or 6 here. And I didn't really the desire for goals in that game was nuts.
Yeah.
Um, I was actually a bit annoyed when the carry scored to make it 6-0. I was like, right, why can't I have made it 6-0? But I was just a selfish striker. But no, I was happy with 5, and I was happy how I played that day. I think I did myself proud.
Yeah, that is a massive performance, mate, and some really good goals as well. Different goals as well, Fletch, weren't they? Which is brilliant. Strikers that can score goals are at the top of every manager's shopping list. So I'm sure after hitting the headlines of scoring 5 goals, that performance must have opened up the doors for an influx of scouts coming down to watch you. How aware of that interest from other clubs were you, and was that a pressure that you had to deal with, or were you all right with that?
I just didn't really let. I just focused on playing. I knew if I did my job properly, things potentially could happen. There was loads of talk about different clubs saying this, and but I just knew that if I can just if I can score 3 more goals by Christmas, 4 more, then who knows what could happen. Um, and I didn't really let it affect what I was doing. I just played football and let my dad sort all of that sort of stuff out, the stuff behind the scenes. Talk to my dad, don't talk to me because I want to focus on my football.
Yeah. Another goal that stands out, that would have been the goal against Dartford, where you picked up the ball from behind the halfway line. You beat 2 men and had another one steaming in towards you before you coolly tucked it away in the corner of the net. Absolutely unbelievable goal. And if we needed any further confirmation at that point that you were going to be going all the way to the top, that must have sealed it. What do you remember about that goal in particular?
Um, I think the bad first touch actually made that goal. I had a bad touch on the halfway line that I tried to turn and the ball ran away from me a little bit, and it I think it's Musa Diarra actually who's there
Yeah,
who
it was,
it
yeah.
attracted him to the ball, and I was lucky enough to get a toe in and knock it round him. Um, but then I just remember I knew the defender's body shape was this way, and I knew that if he had to turn his body shape, he'd be off balance. So I knew if I went back inside, he'd have to turn his body shape, and then he'd lose balance, and I'd just go past him. So I just kept running, 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 waited for him to make a move further that way, and then made him turn his body shape, lost balance, and I just could just slot it in the corner.
Yeah, so good. How many times do you reckon you've watched that goal back, Fletch?
I haven't watched that goal for ages, to be fair. When I first did it and the highlights came out, I probably watched it about 15 times
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I felt like I needed to know what I did that made the defender do that.
yeah.
So I know in future I can use it again.
Yeah, absolutely, well, mate, unbelievable. If I ever was able to score a goal like that, that would be my screensaver on my computer, mate. I'd be looking at it every hour. So, Fletch, let's talk about the move to Wolves. How did you first hear that they were interested, and then how easy was it to get the deal all over the line?
I first heard about them being interested. It was the day we played Wick. I had a group FaceTime call. It was me, Simon, and Alan, and um, they said, "Oh, so you've probably heard like all of the rumors about our clubs coming in, clubs to, but next week, next Thursday, you're going up to Wolves for a week." This is bear in mind I've got a game to play in less than 2 hours,
Yeah,
so I get told this, and I'm like, "What? I'm going up to Wolves next week." Like, yeah, you'll be training with the 21s, and then you play. Then we're going to see if you can play a game. I'm not right. All right. Well, I've now got a game to play. Cheers, guys. Like, sort of thing. So the whole journey up, I've not said anything to anyone. And then I play the game, and I get home, and I was just like to my dad, like, "What? Like, Wolves?" And I then went up next Thursday and did a week's trial, and yeah, met all the boys and all the coaches and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But
yeah. Um, Unbelievable. We've been up there for 6 months now, haven't you, mate? And it's good to see that you've not picked up the Brummie accent. You've still got your Eastbourne accent there, haven't you? What do you remember about walking into training in Wolves on that first day, Fletch? I mean, that must have been unbelievable. Seeing all those players that you probably watched on telly, all of
yeah,
these famous faces. What was that like?
yeah, it was crazy. It was a bit surreal actually. Um, but again, at the end of the day, they're now it's not really like it's reality realistically. So you just got to think of them as any other human being. You can't think of them as some core. He's like obviously you want to get to where they are, but you can only do that by hard work. So as soon as you walk through the door, then the hard work really starts, and you just got to keep going and going and going until one day you get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. So you've obviously got a really good young squad. The manager Gary O'Neill, he's very focused on nurturing and bringing through young talent as well. And there's some really good young players as well as you, Fletch, isn't there, within the squad? What Wolves players have you particularly bonded with, and how much and how has the manager been with you, Fletch, as well?
Um, yeah, the manager's been good. I remember just like talking to him, and he just sounds like a normal guy. Like you wouldn't think of him as some scary bloke that you wouldn't be able to like approach and chat to. But I bonded with like I spoke to Max Kilman quite a bit because obviously he's done the non-league path. He knows what it takes. So I spoke to him quite a lot. Mateus Cunha, I spoke to him a bit about like movement, finishing, um, attitude and belief to get to where you want to get to. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good characters in that squad, and
Yeah,
hopefully this season can be a good one again.
yeah, and of course Gary O'Neill's a Millwall fan, so he's always going to be a top bloke, Fletch. Has he spoke to you about Millwall before?
No,
Yeah, he's a Millwall season ticket holder, and yeah,
didn't
so he's a top man. Yeah, that's right.
know that.
So yeah, so Fletch, overnight, everyone at the Eastbourne Borough supporters forum immediately adopted Wolves as a second team, and we were all following your games from the moment that you went there, and you scored, didn't you, on your first game for the
Mm.
under 21s, and then worked your way onto the bench in the first team. Unbelievable progress. What do you remember about being told that you were going to be in the first team match day squad?
I remember getting called up to the 21's gaffer's office, um, and he says to me like, "Oh, there's like a 99% chance you're gonna be on the bench tomorrow." Bearing in mind it was Coventry in the FA Cup quarter final.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I'm standing there going, right, okay, okay. I know that I'm not considered a first team player, but you have to then make the professionalism and all the other stuff that goes with it as a first team player. You do the things right. Um, and then I remember getting called into the first team kit man's room, and he said, "There's the numbers. Pick which number you want." And then before I knew it, he walks into the 21's dressing room, and my shirt's been printed with the FA Cup badge on it. So yeah, that's when I found out.
yeah. So good, man, so good. And obviously being on a bench, Fletch as well is similar to, isn't it, how you started off at Borough? Mentally, do you find yourself like trying to get the manager's attention, like when he might be on the lookout for a striker? Do you like stand there kind of in his eye line doing star jumps, making sure that he's really aware of you? Is that kind of what you're trying to do?
No, just make sure that you stay as warm as you can all the time because anyone could become injured at any point, and all of a sudden, then you're coming on the pitch. So yeah, just make sure that if the opportunity comes, you're ready. Because the worst thing
Yeah,
to do is not be ready or not have your socks on, not have your shin pads on, not have your laces done up. Like that's the worst thing you could possibly do. So
yeah.
always make sure you're ready before, because anything can happen within literally a blink of an eye. So
Yeah,
you always have to be ready for it.
got to be ready. Yeah, and like you say, Coventry was your first one. I remember that. That was on the TV as well, wasn't it? I think it was on the ITV. We was all watching that, cheering you on to come on. And then you played you was on the bench for a number of Premier League games after that as well, wasn't you? Where did you end up going? What, can you remember what games you were part
Um,
of them?
I was on the bench at home to Bournemouth, away
Yes.
away to Villa. I travelled to Burnley but wasn't on the bench, and then I was on the bench at home against Arsenal as well.
Wow, so good, so good. So having that all under your belt, what are your expectations for next season? Do you see yourself again pushing to get into the first team squad, or can you see yourself getting a loan move somewhere?
I'm hoping to go pre-season with the first team. I'm hoping. Um, if not, I'll do pre-season with the 21s and then try and push to get into the first team squad. And then I don't know what will happen, but maybe by January they might then send me out on loan. But honestly, I'm in the dark at the moment. I'm just staying fit, gonna go pre-season, and whatever I get told to do, I'll do to the best of my
Yeah,
ability.
I see it. Staying sharp, being ready for that opportunity. Fletch, the Eastbourne Borough fans will not forgive me if I don't ask. At the end of your career, we don't care when it is. You can be 45 years old if need be. Will you come back and give us one last season and finish off at Eastbourne Borough where it all started?
Uh, who knows? Hope maybe I'll end up there one day. But no, obviously it would be nice to go back to where it all started, really. So
Yeah,
I
you
hope.
see Brett Pittman. Brett Pittman, he's non-league, isn't he? I can't remember how many goals he scored last season. I think it was like 50 or 60 odd goals. It'd be a great way to bow out your career, Fletch. Well, Fletch, we're going to take a very quick break from coming back to ask you the signature from the club questions. Fletcher, as you know, as a business, we're all about official signed memorabilia. So these last few questions are all memorabilia related. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Well, Fletch, have you ever asked anyone for their autograph before?
yeah, I have. Um, I I went to a Brighton game when I was at in Brighton Academy, and um, the Brighton Academy lot sat literally behind the first team dugout. So as all the players like were walking through the tunnel, you'd like lean over with your pad and your pen and ask them to sign it. So I've got Solly March's signature. I've got probably Lewis Dunk somewhere
And
as well.
he said, yeah, yeah. Actually, you got some good ones there, mate. So I was going to ask you next, actually, what memorabilia do you own? And if so, what is your favourite piece?
My favourite memorabilia. I don't really know.
Was you
That's,
able to keep your walk shirt, that Coventry shirt?
yeah,
Was you able to keep that?
I've got Martinelli's shirt. I've got the ball that I scored the 5 goals with. I've
Ah,
got
yeah.
my Premier League shirt. I've got my FA Cup shirt. I've got a few, but not like any that are worth anything yet. Hopefully,
No, well, I
no
tell
one
you
really
what,
works
those
for
things
me.
alone are pretty special. The ball against Billinghurst, the boys all signed that as well, didn't they? I remember seeing a picture with you with that your first Wolves shirt as well. Very, very special. Great stuff. And Fletch, if you could have anyone's autograph, dead or alive, who would you have and why?
Dead or alive, or probably Messi. Got to go Messi, surely.
They say,
Just
yeah,
he's just
quality.
the goat of all football, and he like he's just the things he's done, and he's just a joke, and he like he's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Do you know who I thought you was going to say? I remember saying on the Eastbourne forum. I can't remember. You on top form for Borough. The two players that you reminded me of, Thierry Henry coming in off of the left with all that pace, and Jamie Vardy. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if those two. Have you ever, just out of interest, have you ever taken sort of notice of those two players? Do you sort of find aspects of anyone's game when you're watching football and sort of think, you know what, I can do that, or you might try it in training and sort
I've
of build that into your game at all?
I've watched both Thierry Henry and Jamie Vardy's 100 Clubs on TV, and
Okay,
the
yeah,
finish into the corner, that is classic Thierry Henry, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
the runs in behind is classic Jamie Vardy, isn't it? So
yeah,
um, I've watched them and thought, right, if I can perfect that finish, then you can. It's a goal because the keeper ain't gonna. If you start it outside the post and bend it in, the keeper's not gonna get there.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
you time your runs perfectly, defenders hate it. So
yeah,
yeah, I've little bits and bobs from both players I've looked at,
yeah.
um, but I wouldn't say my game is totally like around them.
Yeah. Little aspects. I've even seen a little Thierry Henry celebration sneak out in one of yours as well with the knee slide. I'm pretty sure I've seen Henry do that towards the corner flag as well, Fletch. Well, mate, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, mate. I know you're deep into thinking about pre-season training now, so for you to take the time out and to be with us, mate, we and the Nova fans will appreciate it as well. Before we let you go, do you have any closing thoughts, and also let everyone know how they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, my Instagram's Fletcher Holman 18. Just come and give me a follow if you want. Um, but yeah, other than that, I'm sound. I just appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Top man. Well, we'll make sure that there's a link in the description to Fletch's Instagram. Make sure you go and give him a follow and give him all of your support for the rest of his career. And Fletch, mate, we really appreciate you. You're one of our own, mate. We love you, and we're sending you back up to Wolves with all of our best wishes, mate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.